Everyone knows that Shakespearean refrain, there's something rotten in the state of Denmark. Well, I think there may be something rotten in the state of the World Health Organization, an estimable organization if ever there was one. And I have three bases for that assumption. First, last January in Paris, the Global Fund to Fight AIDS, Tuberculosis and Malaria launched its target for the next replenishment conference of $14 billion. That target is actually $18 billion short of what the statisticians have said is really required fully to deal with the three diseases. And in fact, the Global Fund itself indicated that they want at least 14 billion because if they can get more, they can save countless additional lives. So at the launch of the Global Fund replenishment, as it's called, there were the head of the Global Fund, Peter Sands, there was the President of France, Macron, and there was also the Director General of the World Health Organization, Dr. Tedros. Why is Dr. Tedros sitting on a platform giving the imprimatur of legitimacy to a target that he knows is inadequate to fight these infectious diseases? Surely that's not the role of the Director General of WHO. Second, a number of really exemplary and knowledgeable experts from a group of 7, 8, 9 organizations in civil society who work on tuberculosis, they wrote a letter to Dr. Tedros and said that they were dissatisfied with the way in which WHO was dealing with the treatment to confront drug-resistant tuberculosis, a real killer, drug-resistant tuberculosis. They were worried about an injectable drug that continues to be used that could lead to deafness and blindness and psychosis. It has in many cases, but they were particularly concerned about the way in which the guidelines for the treatment had been described. They were concerned about the confusion and lack of clarity around the regimens that were suggested. And they asked for that clarity, and they got a response which was a piece of humdrum flummery from Dr. Tedros saying, in effect, leave us alone. But in truth, they didn't leave WHO alone. And last week, they got a meeting with Tedros and his senior scientific advisor, and they managed to find a kind of rapprochement. At least they're moving in that direction. But the original Pavlovian response from Dr. Tedros is very worrying. Number 3 is Ebola in the Democratic Republic of the Congo. There have been over 2,000 cases now, 1,500 dead, hundreds of thousands of people fleeing from the areas where the Ebola outbreak has occurred. And as a matter of fact, it is now, as is widely known, it is now infiltrated into Uganda. It could reach South Sudan. It could reach Rwanda. It is a nightmare. And along with that potential nightmare lies the reality of clinics and hospitals being attacked by the military, healthcare workers being killed by marauding bands, and all kinds of conspiracy theories amongst the local population. The real problem, at the heart of it, is that WHO doesn't have the money to deal with this conflagration. It just doesn't have the $98 million it has asked for. The New York Times said they got barely half of it. So why hasn't WHO declared an international public health emergency which would raise awareness and get them the money they require? We have money for every falderall issue in the world these days, but we never seem to be able to find the dollars for human priorities. That was last week. I'm Stephen Lewis.